Most romantic period dramas are predictable. You know the formula by now. But every once in a while you find one that actually earns the emotion. Real chemistry, real stakes, and stories that stick with you long after the credits roll. Here are 10 hidden romantic period dramas that deserve way more attention. A Month in the Country, 1987. Set in the summer of 1920, this British gem follows Tom Birkin, a World War I veteran suffering from shell shock who takes a job restoring a medieval mural in a small Yorkshire church. Colin Firth plays Birkin, and this is before he became Mr. Darcy, so it's a raw, more vulnerable performance. While working on the mural, he develops feelings for the vicar's wife, played by Natasha Richardson. But it's not a typical affair story. The romance is quiet, almost entirely unspoken, built on glances and moments that can't go anywhere. What makes it beautiful is the restraint. Kenneth Branagh plays another damaged veteran excavating a grave nearby, and the friendship between the two men is just as important as the romance. The Yorkshire countryside looks incredible, all golden fields and peaceful quiet that contrasts with the trauma these men carry. It's a film about healing and accepting that some things can't be fixed. If you want a romance that trusts its audience and doesn't spell everything out, this is it. The Secret Scripture, 2016. Vanessa Redgrave plays Roseanne McNulty, an elderly woman who spent most of her life in a mental institution in Ireland. As the hospital is being closed, a psychiatrist played by Eric Bana discovers her secret diary, which tells the story of her youth. Rooney Mara plays young Roseanne in flashbacks, and her love story with a fighter pilot played by Jack Rayner is genuinely affecting. What elevates this above typical romance is how it deals with Ireland's dark history of locking up women for perceived moral failures. Roseanne's so-called madness was really just her refusing to conform. The film jumps between timelines, slowly revealing what really happened to her and why she ended up institutionalized. Both Redgrave and Mara are excellent, playing the same woman at different points but making it feel like a complete character. The romance is tragic but earned, and the film doesn't shy away from the institutional abuse. It's heavy subject matter, but the performances and the mystery of what really happened keep you hooked. I Capture the Castle, 2003. Based on Dodie Smith's beloved novel, this one's set in 1930s England and follows the eccentric Mortmain family living in a crumbling castle. Romola Garai plays Cassandra, the younger daughter who documents everything in her journal. When two wealthy American brothers inherit a neighboring estate, both sisters fall for them, but not in the ways you'd expect. What makes this special is how it captures that specific feeling of being 17 and dramatic about everything, while also showing real growth. The romance is sweet but complicated, tangled up with class differences and family loyalty. Bill Nighy plays the father, a once famous writer who hasn't written anything in years, and he brings his usual brilliance to the role. The film has this dreamy, nostalgic quality that perfectly matches Cassandra's perspective. It's not cynical about young love, but it's also honest about how messy and confusing it can be. The English countryside looks gorgeous, and the whole thing feels like a love letter to that time in your life, when everything feels massive and important. The Last of the Mohicans, 1992. Michael Mann's epic set during the French and Indian War, and if you haven't seen it, fix that immediately. Daniel Day-Lewis plays Hawkeye, a white man adopted by Mohicans, who gets caught up in protecting Cora and Alice Munro, daughters of a British colonel. The romance between Hawkeye and Cora, played by Madeleine Stowe, is intense and physical in a way period romances usually aren't. There's real danger here. People die, battles are brutal, and the stakes feel genuine. What makes it work is the chemistry between Day-Lewis and Stowe. You believe they'd risk everything for each other. The film doesn't waste time on will they won't they tension. They want each other, and the only question is whether they'll survive long enough to be together. The score by Trevor Jones and Randy Edelman is legendary. Those drums and strings during the final chase are unforgettable. Mann directs the hell out of this, making every frame look epic without losing the intimate moments. The supporting romance between Alice and Uncas is heartbreaking. This is a romantic epic that actually earns the word epic. The Man from Snowy River, 1982. This Australian western is criminally underrated. Set in the 1880s, it follows Jim Craig, a young man trying to prove himself after his father's death. He falls for Jessica, the daughter of a wealthy landowner who thinks Jim isn't good enough for her. Tom Burlinson and Sigrid Thornton have great chemistry, playing the classic forbidden romance between classes, but the real star is the Australian landscape, the mountains, the wild horses, the way they shot the riding sequences, it's all stunning. The film builds to this legendary downhill chase scene that's been ripped off a dozen times since but never matched. Jim has to ride down an almost vertical mountainside chasing wild horses to prove himself, and it's genuinely thrilling. What keeps it from being just another romance is how much it respects Jim's journey to manhood and independence. Jessica's not just a prize to be won, she's got her own arc about breaking free from her father's control. The score by Bruce Rowland is sweeping and emotional without being manipulative. It's a crowd pleaser in the best way. The Illusionist, 2006. Set in turn-of-the-century Vienna, Edward Norton plays Eisenheim, a magician who reunites with his childhood love Sophie, now engaged to the Crown Prince. Jessica Biel plays Sophie, and while she's often underrated as an actress, she's genuinely good here. The prince, played by Rufus Sewell, is controlling and dangerous, so the stakes are real. What makes this more than a typical forbidden romance is the mystery woven throughout. Is Eisenheim really doing magic, or is it all tricks? The film keeps you guessing, while building the romantic tension. Paul Giamatti plays the police inspector caught in the middle, and he's the secret weapon. His character's investigation drives the plot, while the romance drives the emotion. Director Neil Berger shoots Vienna as dark and atmospheric, all shadows and gaslight. The production design is gorgeous without being showy. The ending has a twist that reframes everything, and whether you see it coming or not, it's emotionally satisfying. It's a smart, adult romance that treats its audience with respect. A Royal Affair, 2012. This Danish film tells the true story of Queen Caroline Mathilde, a British princess married off to the mentally ill King of Denmark. Alicia Vikander plays Caroline, and she's luminous. When the king's doctor, a progressive intellectual played by Mads Mikkelsen, arrives at court, Caroline falls for him. But this isn't just an affair story. Together, they manipulate the king into enacting Enlightenment reforms that transform Denmark. The romance is passionate but also intellectual. They're drawn together by ideas as much as attraction. Mikkelsen and Vikander have incredible chemistry, and you understand why she'd risk everything for him. The film doesn't shy away from the politics, showing how their progressive reforms threatened the conservative nobility. Mikkel Boe-Folsgaard plays the king, and he makes what could be a one-note character into someone tragic and sympathetic. The ending is devastating because you know it's coming but hope it won't. The costumes and production design are impeccable. This is historical romance for adults who want substance with their love story. The Whole Wide World, 1996. This small, intimate film tells the true story of the relationship between Novaline Price, a schoolteacher, and Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan the Barbarian. Renee Zellweger plays Novaline before she was famous, and Vincent D'Onofrio plays Howard as brilliant, troubled, and completely unsuited for normal life. Their relationship is complicated and ultimately tragic. Howard's devotion to his dying mother and his struggles with depression make it impossible for them to be together, no matter how much they care about each other. What makes it special is how it shows two creative people trying to connect while being fundamentally incompatible. D'Onofrio's performance is incredible, showing Howard's manic energy and dark moods without making him a caricature. Zellweger matches him, playing Novaline as independent and strong, but also genuinely heartbroken. Set in 1930s Texas, the film has this dusty, isolated feel that matches Howard's mental state. It's a romance about two people who love each other but can't make it work, and that honesty makes it hit harder than most happy endings. Somewhere in Time, 1980. Christopher Reeve plays a playwright who becomes obsessed with a photograph of a woman from 1912. Through self-hypnosis, he travels back in time to meet her, played by Jane Seymour. Yes, it sounds ridiculous, but somehow it works. The romance is old-fashioned and earnest in a way that could feel cheesy but doesn't because Reeve and Seymour commit completely. The film was shot at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island, and the location does a lot of the work creating this timeless romantic atmosphere. John Barry's score is gorgeous, one of those soundtracks that becomes inseparable from the film. What makes it work is how seriously it takes itself. There's no winking at the camera about the time travel gimmick. The film believes in the power of love across time, and that conviction is infectious. The ending is heartbreaking but also weirdly hopeful. It's become a cult classic for a reason, and if you let yourself get swept up in it, Somewhere in Time is deeply romantic in a way modern films rarely attempt. Amazing Grace, 2006. This one's about William Wilberforce's campaign to abolish the slave trade in Britain, which doesn't sound like a romance at first. But his relationship with Barbara Spooner, played by Romola Garai, is a significant part of the story. Ewan Grufford plays Wilberforce as driven and exhausted, nearly killing himself for the cause. When he meets Barbara, a fellow abolitionist, they connect over their shared passion for justice. The romance is brief but intense. They get engaged after knowing each other for days, which sounds absurd until you see how the film handles it. They're two people who've found someone who understands their life's purpose. The supporting cast is stacked. Benedict Cumberbatch, Albert Finney, Michael Gambon, all bringing their best. Director Michael Apted keeps the focus on Wilberforce's decades-long fight, while using the romance to show his human side. The film doesn't sugarcoat how brutal the fight was, or how many times Wilberforce failed before succeeding. It's inspirational without being preachy, and the romance is the emotional anchor that keeps it grounded.